Should be all good now. Lester, are you with us?
Present and accounted for.
Ah, there you go. We've got your sound. I guess we are ready to rumble. So, I don't know. Are you nervous?
It's been such a big build up here.
And it's like it's been so long since we've done something. Okay, so let's.
Earth is online. We are waiting for your broadcast over.
Okay, there we go.
Woo!
We did say for episode 100 we're going to change the theme song, right?
Absolutely.
Well, I think we still got half a year to go before we get there.
At this rate.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Hello, Lester.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good afternoon. From wherever you
Good
are.
evening, depending on where you are.
Yeah, exactly. Broadcasting on all channels. Yeah, how are you?
Actually, not bad.
Okay. You said you've moved places, so give us the lowdown.
I've moved a mile down the road.
I'll be back.
Which is 1.6 kilometers in old money. I've got better broadband reception here. I'm on a new network.
Wow.
Whoop whoop. But I've realized my Wi-Fi adapter on this laptop is a bit shoddy. So we may revert back to episodes 3 to 20 where I'd occasionally miss half the episode because I had network issues.
No, don't worry, I've got your static photo ready. I've got your static photo ready.
We have a few static photos of you doing
Oh my gosh, I forgot about the static photos.
That, we have some awesome shots. So don't
So
stress.
I can just swap it quickly and you'll be there.
Okay.
Frozen in time. Yeah, like that. That's your best side, by the way.
Yeah, I don't have a best side.
No, that's awesome. Sounds like you had a really good week. Looks like your signal and connection is coming through quite well. So,
all good for now.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's not jinx it.
Yeah, let's not jinx it. Maybe now's not a good time to go back to using Skype instead of Teams.
Yeah, we used to use Skype.
Yeah. So, just before the episode, Oleg and I were chatting about mandatory vaccinations being requested by companies. I mean, what's your feeling? Like, is there anything like that happening in the UK?
Look, okay, so it's going to be an interesting week because I haven't watched the news at all this past week, although I hear things are happening. In my company, there is something that's come out of Germany where the company management need to know. It's become obligatory that you need to advertise to the company whether you've had vaccinations or not.
Okay.
Because it used to be a voluntary thing on our intranet, and now it's become.
Oh, they're saying it's mandatory. Oh, they're saying it's mandatory.
In Germany, it is.
In Germany.
Apparently.
Okay. Apparently. And then, how does that affect, the rest of the company? Does the rest of the company, is it really dependent on what the local laws are when it comes to those kind of things? Is that how they deal with that cross-company kind of policies?
They've kind of gone, well, it's mandatory in this country, so we're rolling it out for the whole company.
Oh, right.
But it's my legal entity. It's not, my company has 1,000 legal entities.
Empties, legal empties, right?
Entities.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I will see when I go back to work next week what's happened. But the other thing that's happened is in the UK, they've just gone, we're scrapping all restrictions.
Everything,
pretty much.
Everything,
no masks, no social distancing.
Everything is...
Scrap it all.
Okay.
And then the Mayor of London says, please still wear a mask on the underground.
So, talking about that, I mean, weren't the restrictions being lifted this week when it came to, wearing masks and that kind of stuff?
It did, but I didn't notice because I've been moving house. But that would have been a few days ago, and I didn't notice a difference. people are still wearing masks in the
Oh, really?
supermarket.
Do you think people are going to voluntarily continue to wear masks? I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's
I
different
mean,
in
like,
different.
you look at
There's
countries
different
like
cultures
China.
at play here. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, you look like countries like, Asia and all that kind of stuff. You often see, before COVID, you would often see people wearing masks, irrespective.
In the public transport.
Public
spaces.
transport and public spaces, yeah. So I'm curious about what the human psychology is around once they lift those restrictions. Are people still going to continue to wear masks and
I think
sanitize their hands?
I don't think it's going to go that far. I think
know.
you'll probably
You're
see
stressing
old
out.
people. The elderly people will probably take more precautions than others.
Or, I suppose the
don't think
people
we'll
that are
start
vulnerable,
seeing- We won't see masks as a norm.
Okay.
People are rebelling against it, right? So, yeah, it's not going to sit comfortably.
Weren't there protests against COVID regulations in Belgium this week?
I don't know. Don't.
There are protests in every country every week. It's
Okay.
been like that for ages.
Okay.
Interesting.
What's your take?
On what?
On
Mandatory?
Yeah.
Mandatory.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like we were saying earlier on, I mean, I suppose it really depends. Well, I suppose my knee-jerk reaction to it is, listen, I don't think you should ever force anyone to do anything that they don't want to do. That's my sort of like departure.
Yeah.
Right. And then you start drilling into the actual situation. Then I'd be like, well, it really depends on your circumstances. I mean, you might say, well, and I suppose when you're talking about a company that's like, like heavy on safety and all that kind of stuff, I suppose you can't fault them for saying, well, look, we want to create a safe environment, so COVID is a bit of a risk, and so we would like people to be vaccinated, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I mean, I suppose, I suppose it depends which way you look at it. I mean, what's the benefit of getting vaccinated? Okay, well, if you get COVID and you've been vaccinated, the chances are that the symptoms or the sort of like your body's reaction to it is going to be a lot less severe than if you weren't vaccinated. And also, it doesn't put a pressure on the healthcare system because, well, you're not going to land up in hospital theoretically in most cases. Okay, so that's the benefit of getting the vaccine, right? So if I decide not to get the vaccine and I go into the workplace where some people are vaccinated and other people aren't vaccinated, what's the risk there? Well, it means the person that's unvaccinated theoretically is going to get sicker than someone that is vaccinated. And the person that's vaccinated, if they get it, they're not going to get that sick anyway. So what's the point?
So I think the rationale for like mandatory vaccinations, obviously, like you said, to protect, your workforce and create a safe working environment. But like if you have vaccinated and vaccinated people, obviously, the people that are not vaccinated have a higher chance of getting more severely ill or experiencing more severe symptoms. In the rare cases, it could even lead to the fatality. So I think the major concern if the company loses 1% of its our workforce.
But I mean, the thing is that if it's your choice to not get vaccinated, so in other words, you are happy to take that risk, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So the people that decide to get vaccinated and go into the office, okay, they've decided, well, they don't want to take the risk, so they've got vaccinated. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so if they're in the office environment or in the work environment and someone has got COVID, the chances are they're not going to get as sick.
No.
But the person that they get COVID from could be either a person that is unvaccinated or a person that is vaccinated.
Absolutely.
Because we know of people, no names mentioned, that have had COVID more than once, right?
Yeah.
So theoretically, you would imagine that if you've had COVID before and you've survived, you've built up an immunity to it.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next time the point is you can get COVID again, and maybe the symptoms are not as bad as they were the first time you got COVID.
Yeah.
Okay. But you still got COVID second time, and you theoretically had the ability to spread it. So I mean, the thing is that if you're in the office and you're vaccinated, it doesn't mean you're not going to get COVID.
No, it doesn't.
And the person that you get COVID from isn't only necessarily going to be a person that's unvaccinated. It could be a person that is vaccinated.
Yeah.
So maybe the only thing that you can say is that based on the information that has come out about people that are vaccinated, is they've got 50% less chance, or 50% chance, only a 50% chance of transmitting it than if you were unvaccinated. So all you're doing is maybe you're reducing the incidence of people getting sick, okay? So maybe that's got an impact on the business from a sick leave cost point of view.
But also another important thing with mandatory vaccinations, that type of policy would need to be aligned to the constitution of the country where it's being rolled out at.
Yeah, fair enough.
So,
fair enough. What I'm saying is, before you even get to that, when
That's
you're
true.
talking
That's
about
true. I'm with you.
what are the benefits of having a policy in place, or forget about the policy, what are the benefits of people being vaccinated in the workplace? What are the pros and cons? Well, so we've been through that. I'll give you my view. But I don't know.
What's Lester's take on this?
Here's my cup of coffee.
COVID.
No, I look around me now, and it's, what was it? The last time we did a podcast, it was 1 in 20 people in the UK had COVID at that time.
Yeah.
And it's not changing. I know it used to be, you knew somebody who had COVID. Now it's like I'm the odd one out. Everyone around me's had it.
Yeah.
And maybe more than once. And they've been vaccinated. So passing of the virus is quite a simple thing. You can't combat that anymore, not in our environment. We're just getting on with it.
Mm. Yeah.
But then I look at we've had a lot of vaccinations. I think we've got, on the booster side, we're at 55% of the population.
Yeah.
So that's 3 shots.
Mm. Yeah. So I think the thing is that, a majority of us that are working in the corporate environment are already vaccinated. At least we've had our 2 shots. We're only starting now to have our boosters. So, in terms of the policy coming into effect in a company, with people that are mostly vaccinated already, I suppose it doesn't really make too much of an impact. But the question is that setting a precedent for the future for similar kind of situations where the company is going to dictate that kind of stuff? So like the next virus that comes along.
When we all went to lockdown all those months ago, it was, what is the new normal going to be like in the future? I think we still have that as an open question.
Yeah, that's very true.
I can't see us going back to the way we were.
Mm.
And there is a question mark in the UK now that there's no restrictions and everyone's pushing for things to move forward. Our vaccination rates are as high as they're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's or built up immunity to COVID, or whatever the theories might be. Are people going to go back to the offices? I don't think so, because many of them have been sold, rented out, leases expired and not renewed. So no, I don't think it'd be the same. But there's other things going on, like one of the railway companies. Obviously, the railway companies are used to making a lot of income from the commuters to the cities who haven't been commuting.
Mm.
They're now offering free bacon butties as part of the journey plan. And there's others offering free coffees, and there's others that are, trying to get people back to a different routine.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to see a bit more of that. But it's going to be different.
Mm. So I read an article during the week on the return to work. You might have seen it as well. It was posted by one of our colleagues. There they were saying that, you need to create an incentive for people to come into the office. Like, free catering cards. Oh, but hang on a second, we've got that already. So what's the incentive going to be?
I have no idea. I have no idea, but like free catering cards is not gonna.
Yeah, it's not going to fly because
not
we're
gonna sell me. I would spend more money on transportation than I would on
on saving on the food.
Yeah.
Yeah, and besides,
Look,
I'm
my
intermittent
company is going to
fasting.
just take the approach of we're working in a remote environment. This is the new norm. And if you want to work from the office, you can do. And this is how the office is set up. It's hot desking. You can go online, and we have an app. You can book a chair, a desk. It's not the same as it was before. Predominantly, we are going to work from home.
Yeah,
And I think it won't be any incentive. We don't want people to come back in. It might be different for other companies, but we would just go, this is how it's going to be.
Yeah,
These are the rules of your new employment. And we might follow it up with a change to employment terms and conditions.
yeah, sure. So, what are the pros and cons in your view, in your mind, to having that situation where people continue to work remotely versus making a concerted effort to get people back into the office? What are the pros and cons of both of those situations in your mind?
The balance is always going to be tricky. It depends on the company and the roles that need to be fulfilled. But I look at our side, and the thing that's become most apparent in the last few months is the mental health of people who are working remotely. That team unitedness, is that even a word? That team feeling is gone. The contribution as a team is gone. So people have been working in isolation. They don't feel supported. They don't feel part of, or they're not contributing to the greatness of the company. This has just become a job.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? Wasn't it always a job?
No. It's reinforced, and it's going to be different from every company. But ours is reinforcing about, the culture is, we are constantly contributing to greatness, and it's always a we thing. We do innovative stuff. Yeah,
Well,
maybe it's the industry I'm in.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, let me ask you a question there. Like for instance, so what would happen in the office environment that would create that feeling that it's we as the team and not I as a member in the team? Like what would happen in the office to give people that feeling? Is it you're having a morning meeting, stand-up meeting, you're all getting together in the meeting room, in the boardroom? Or is it we're all getting lunch together? Or what is it? We're working in an open plan office and I can just look over the cubicle and chat to my mate next
I think
to
it
me.
starts with the socializing.
Socializing.
It starts, meeting somebody that you've been on your own for so long, trying to bring that social environment together, whether people that get along or not. It's been around other people, so it's just to try and break down these psychological things that have been happening that you've been living through. If you live on your own in a flat, you've not interacted much with people, and not even in the workplace. Yes, we do calls, a lot of calls, and a lot of the time they're pointless calls because of this environment we're in. We don't want to miss something. So you sit on all these calls one after another to keep up with what's going on. So a lot of people just sit in the background quietly. I think to bring them together. Go on.
Yeah, sorry. But don't you think that it really depends on the personality of the people, right? So for instance, you might have people that would sit face to face in a meeting that wouldn't want to speak up because of that environment. So now they in an environment
I'm not saying.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to work out what the pros and cons are, because what I'm finding, my experience is that, and I'm sure my mom's watching, and I'll use this analogy, right? Is that when I was young, when my mom was cold, I had to put a jersey on, right? Because she thought I must be cold because she's cold. And what I'm finding with this going back to the work thing is that someone's decided that everyone's got mental health issues around working from home, So everybody must have that. So everybody must come back to the office.
Yeah.
Whereas,
No, I don't.
whereas
I
I
don't
think
it's
it's,
like that.
I think it's a situation where
It's a really good analogy.
each person is different. And I think the
Yeah.
approach to going back to the office should be, let's have a one-on-one conversation with each person and see where you at in terms of how you feel about the way you're working now and how you used to work, and how do we create a hybrid situation in the future to cater for those different people's personality. Because like I'll say personally, I prefer working from home. Okay, I can go into the office and interact with people and socialize and whatever. But because I can do that doesn't mean I enjoy it. I actually prefer to be at home working remotely the way that I do. And the reason for that is because I can control how my time gets divided during the day on the work that I'm doing. Because if someone wants to interact with me, they drop me a message on Teams and they say, hey, listen, can we chat? And I can say, yes, it's 9 o'clock now. I can meet at 10. Can we set something up for 10? Yes, we can set up something for 10. Whereas when I'm in the office, I'll be busy working with someone and someone comes to my cubicle or comes to my office. And I can't, like, I don't have the heart to send them away and say, no, don't come and bother me now. Come back at 10.
I've forgotten those things. Yeah.
As an example,
No, look,
I'm just
this,
using
this
that
is
as an
not
example.
this is not something we're just springing now because restrictions have been reduced. We've been doing surveys and engagement for many months
Yeah.
to get to this point, so we know when we go back. That's why I'm saying with certainty we have a policy where you can go and book a desk, and if you want to go back in and go in, team
Yeah.
meetings can now happen.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're going to end up with is still this remote working. For those of you who can remote work, we'll continue. But what we'll probably do in my team is we'll probably go into an office once or twice a week,
Yeah.
and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
There's no firm you will go back 5 days a week between these hours. The flexibility is there now.
Yeah, but I mean, I suppose, but when you talk about flexibility, I mean, if you're saying that you as an entire team are going to go in, say, once or twice a week, I mean, isn't that taking the flexibility away of, on the other side of saying, listen, if you want to come into the office, you can come into
I'm
the
not
office.
forcing it. This is based on general
Okay.
feedback. Going,
Yeah,
we all
yeah.
want to see each other.
Okay.
So, yeah, there's going to be those who don't want to come back in, but there's the productivity side for 1 day of a week. If I'll give you an example, if I'm sitting with my team in the office, it's a lot more efficient than us sitting in 10 different locations. Because what happens is I'll be on a call with 2 of them, and we talk through stuff and come up with things, and I'm like, oh, well, I'm not going to have to go now and check with other members of the team to bring them up to speed. And before you know it, I've lost half a day. Whereas if we're in the office, it would take 5 minutes. It's that kind of efficiency that I'm striving for.
Yeah, yeah.
So
But
I
I
would just
suppose
say,
it
look,
depends,
everybody,
like you say, it depends on the roles that you are
absolutely.
working on. Because
Yeah.
like in the situation that we're working in, and I mean, Oleg can chip in here, is that we work in very specialized, we're specialists in a particular area. So generally we're working on our own. And yes, there is some dependency on other people providing us with information, or we providing information to them. But theoretically, it's not like it's over a long period of time. It's not like immediate. I don't know. What's your feeling? I mean, in terms of the kind of work that you're doing.
So for me, for me, it's like I work across different geographies as well. So it's like it's physically impossible to have, my colleagues from Botswana and colleagues from Canada like in the same meeting all the time. But like via Teams, it is possible. It is possible to basically for 9 o'clock meeting to go to Botswana, and then for 10 o'clock or a 3 o'clock in the afternoon meeting to go to Canada. I'm just saying go to as in click join on Teams and you're basically there. So it's like from my point of view, it's like the flexibility of working remotely has been crazy efficient in terms of like getting traction on a lot of projects that would otherwise require me to like do a lot of traveling.
And cost the company a lot of money for traveling.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, another thing that this is where I'm like, So just before we started, I was going to make this point to Oleg, is that like businesses are driving sort of initiatives towards digitalization, right? And it was inevitable that the office would become a digital office
place,
eventually in the future.
Yeah.
But COVID fast-tracked that aspect of that transition
A new CTO.
a lot sooner. No, well, the thing is that like Les is talking about, talking to different people that have got input into a decision or some sort of project or whatever, and you're saying, well, I had a meeting with 2 or 3 people, but there were 2 other people that now I need to go check with them and everything. Well, like, our meeting's not dead. Is it not time that we replace meetings for those kind of situations with something else, like a collaboration tool, like you're on Teams, you've created a channel on Teams, it's for a particular subject matter or project or whatever, and you are constantly contributing on that discussion, and that discussion can take place over like you say, the whole day, as an example. But people in different time zones, like in the situation we work with, where you've got people in Australia, you've got people in Canada, you can't get those people into the same meeting at the same time.
No.
And even if you could, like, you're trying to get 5 people together at the same time. It's like practically impossible, to do that, because you can never find a time slot that suits everyone, right? And obviously, if you want all 5 of those people in the meeting, all 5, you've already realized that those 5 people have to contribute to that discussion. If you take that discussion offline and you've created this channel and you start putting out questions and people are contributing to that when they've got the time to do that, then you can, I believe
that's what we do, because it's like, especially like working across Canada, is like you don't want to email person at like 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning. It's like when I wake up, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning, and some people don't have their phones on silent. Some people, have their computers and sound alerts open. So you don't want to be dropping them like emails
or messages. Well, so I suppose my thought of doing it on Teams is, but I suppose, but then again, my view is that, listen, because a criticism of the kind of environment that you work in is, you never have the ability to turn off, and you're always getting notifications after hours, and all that kind of stuff. Well, I just think that we just need to develop new skills on how to manage that. Like in our personal lives, we're on social media. Like you can get consumed by social media in a negative way. You have to create a skill that says, okay, you know what? I'm only going to go onto the social media app on this day at that time, and the rest of the time I'm not going to consume that content because it distracts me from what I'm doing. Likewise with your your work communication as well, is that you've got to, on Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock or whatever it is,
switch off.
You've got to turn your notifications off for those particular apps.
For sure.
I mean, it's just discipline around that.
No,
I'm
you're
saying,
100%
and because
spot on.
people can't be disciplined about it, doesn't mean that now everyone must. It's a bad thing.
No, you're spot on.
Anyway, we digress. I don't know. Did we digress? We went down a rabbit hole.
No, but it's good.
We went into the Matrix.
It's good to
the metaverse.
It's good to like go down the rabbit hole occasionally. So Lester, your take is that we're not going back to normal. Like too hard was like pre-COVID in terms of like how it worked.
No, we've adjusted, we've adapted, we've moved on. It's been nearly 2 years.
Okay.
So it's not. We can't just switch back on to what it was. We're starting now the next phase of evolving to whatever the norm is of the future.
So your take, right? What is the purpose of the office, right, in this environment that has changed?
Collaboration.
Okay.
Sense of identity. If you want to feel part of something, that's where your branding is. That's where you're reinforced.
Yeah.
No, just buy everyone a branded T-shirt, man. You can feel part. You all wear the T-shirt on the same day. You'll feel part of the. Dude. I'll be honest with you. My personal thing, I don't get it. This having to be in the office and be all chummy with everybody.
But
I can get that same thing on Teams by turning my camera on, and the other people turning their camera on. I don't.
It's different for everyone, though.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I'm talking about myself. I'm being honest. I don't get it. That's why I find it very difficult when people start talking to me about, collaborating in the office and all that kind of stuff. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Is that coming from the people that you haven't heard of in 2 years?
Well, yeah, possibly. Like, you also got to accept that there are some people in the office that you don't get on with, right? And by working from home, you don't have to interact with them.
Yeah.
Right?
So
because they don't actually, you don't actually work together, but they just happen to be in your space. And you just can do without that. Thank you. My mental health is much better because of that.
So would you say that like working from home type of thing works better for like introverts in the company? And obviously working at the office would work well for the extroverts, because like if you get all the extroverts together in one group, they'll just...
Well, I always look at these situations as like, if you have a person, like one of the comments that was made to me about this working from home thing is that, there are some people that are not productive from home, working from home.
Okay, that's really interesting.
I can accept that there are some people that are like that, but those are the same people that are, when they're in the office, they're also unproductive. Okay. No, seriously. I'm not saying it's everyone that's unproductive at home is like that, but what I'm saying, it's generally the people that are unproductive at home are the people that are unproductive in the office. And the difference is in the office is that just because you show up, people think you're working. Just because they see you in the office, they think you're working.
Think it's like a bum in the seat type of thing?
Yeah. But the world has changed long before COVID. We were already talking about, that performance management is now, it went from the individual, it went to the team kind of thing. And then you set up an environment where you're meeting on a regular basis as a team, and there's this like sort of peer pressure, if you want to put it that way, that people that are not performing in that team feel like on the spot, and that they feel that that's an incentive, because the next time they're sitting in the meeting, they need to demonstrate what they've been doing. So it's about output, not about, you're in the office and you were here at 8 o'clock and you left at 4 o'clock, so you worked the whole day. No, you didn't really. You could have been sitting at your desk YouTubing the whole day. Like, just because you're in the office doesn't mean you're working. So that same person, when they go home, obviously. So anyway, my thing is that if you're unproductive at home, the chances are you're going to be unproductive in the workplace. And either way, whoever's your line manager is going to have to put something in place to make sure that you are productive, that you're managing your performance. And my view is that you can't use that as an excuse to say, that's why we want people to come back to the office, because some people are being unproductive. Well, that person's going to be unproductive in the office as well. You're going to have to put something in place anyway. So why do you have to bring them back to the office to be able to put that into place?
An interesting question, like, have you heard that being used? Like, have you heard that issue being raised in terms of because obviously within the team or environment that I work, I haven't heard that argument.
No, it's in a one-on-one conversation. I had that feedback.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. That's that's pretty interesting. So, I do understand that some people will be more productive from the office, just merely because of the fact that, some people have kids, and
Yeah.
Good point. It's like
there's distractions at home. You can't be productive, so they work after hours to catch up with what's happened during the day.
Yeah, but then you have options, right? You can work after hours and still be on track.
Or you can come to the office if you want.
Or you can come to the office. It's there's no limitation. There's no limitation on that.
So it's a place of work rather than anything else.
Yeah.
An interesting thing talking about that was in Canada, and I mean this is probably halfway through last year that I saw this, is that they were saying that people wanted to go back to the office, but they didn't want to go back to their office. They wanted to go back to a different office. So in other words, people were saying that, look, they can't have...
That's not going back.
Yeah, well, quite happy not
That's
to
quite
work at
cool.
home, but they would say, oh, okay, let's say one of these like sort of like
Yeah.
business office share places. You know, this place where you can rent a space. Well, like a coffee shop, or you know, like you have like companies like Regis or some of these things where
Yeah.
you can, you know, you can rent, you know, like you can like hotspot
Yeah.
or you know, what are the hot desk kind of thing, hotspot, hot desk kind of thing, and that the people were saying, okay, we're quite happy, you know, to move from working from home to working in the office, but we don't want to go back to the office. Now, my question is there, but why? Why don't they want to go back to the office? You know, their office. Like, you know, why are they happy to go
That's
to
a-
either a
that's-
coffee
that's a
shop
good
or one of these
Commuting?
office chair?
Long
Maybe.
commutes,
Well, it could be that.
Possible.
cost
Possible.
of parking.
Yeah.
Possible.
Quality of life thing they've now adopted, right? You've got 2
Yeah.
hours of your life back a day.
Yeah, that's a lot actually. Like I have to admit, like I've been really enjoying that added time to my day, because it's like I would go in the morning for a run, right, without need to wake up ultra early.
Yes.
I would go in the afternoon for a run or swim or walk the dogs, which is like awesome, because it's like you know, instantly when you go for a run, you come back, you're like in a good mood. You feel good about, like, this is the first
Makes you
thing.
want to jump in a freezing swimming pool.
Yeah, it makes you want to jump
Absolutely.
in a freezing swimming pool. But it's like, it's just that, you know, the first sense of achievement that you've done. Like, you've done this thing, and you're like, you feel good, you feel pumped to actually just tackle the next thing. Then you jump into like work, and you know, like, I feel a lot better actually, like, because I have to admit, you know, like very often, like, you know, Johannesburg traffic is pretty hectic, right? And like pretty hairy at times, right? And it's like very often, like I get to the office and it's like, I'm like so wired up, because it's like I had to dodge like 2 taxis who nearly
Coming up
smashed-
the wrong direction
like
on
they
your
nearly
side of the
smashed
road.
me into the road. So I'm like, I'm already like not in a good state.
Yeah, exactly. And I will use that as
Sorry,
one
you
of
go
the
to
reasons.
work on your bike or in a car?
Oh, sometimes in the car, sometimes in the bike, but it's like the effect is pretty much the
same.
same, because it's like, okay, it's more dangerous on the bike, obviously, but like you can also get, you know, T-boned and have a head-on with the taxi that just skipped the traffic light, you know, in the vehicle. Like,
Yeah.
if that happens on the motorbike, you don't have to worry about work for a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can work remotely from a hospital bed.
Listen, dude, don't make me put myself in hospital to be able to work from home, okay? To have a
So-
good excuse to
so-
work from
No,
home.
no, it's quite intriguing because you got quite strong feelings about this, which is
Well, because I suppose
fine. But I mean,
look, before
it's going to be different for everyone.
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I acknowledge that it's different for everyone, and that's why I say the conversation should be a one-on-one conversation. It shouldn't be a blanket thing
Yeah,
that
yeah.
oh, 1 or 2 people had some mental health issues with working from home or productivity issues with working from home. Now
yeah.
everybody must come to the office, and they must be here on this day.
Yeah, that would be short, because all that's going to happen is you're going to be upsetting more people, and then you're going to have an exodus of all the wrong people.
Yeah.
Employers should be careful about how they approach this.
Well, yeah, and that's
So I was just
important
thinking,
thing,
it's
yeah.
like one of the upsides of, you know, having efficient work from home policy, like as a company, right? It allows you to tap into broader pool of talent geographically. Like, let's take your example, right? For example's sake, if your company is based in London, right, but you're looking for like a specific individual that can do a specific job, and you basically find somebody in Edinburgh, right? And that job can be done remotely. Like, he doesn't need to be to move to London. Like, he can do whatever he needs to do from Edinburgh. And then that basically broadens your geographic pool and allows your company to, you know, bring all these talented people on board and basically, you know, contribute to the company's success. I don't know whether that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, we work in a niche industry that's quite saturated. And
Okay.
it's hard to find good people. So this remote working for the roles where you could do remote working is, if you can cast your net further afield, then you've got a chance of bringing in new talent or capturing talent that you wouldn't have had access to before. Now, we'd probably still say, I'll use an example of London. Your working place is London. That's our registered office.
Yeah.
And you'd probably go there for an interview. Maybe, maybe not. But that's your official place of work. Now, the role might be stipulated in your terms and conditions that you work from home, but occasionally you will be expected to come into the office.
Yeah, but that's not a problem. I mean, it's like...
It is if you live in a different country in Europe.
Okay, that's true.
Or live in the other side of the country that you're in.
No, but I'm not talking about like spreading the net as far away as like South America, for example. Say.
No,
like,
but that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I now have access to people who live and work in the other side of Scotland because they can, right? It's good broadband, and I don't care where you are. This would be like Andrew working in Cape Town or from Cape Town for his job in Joburg. So if you do need to go in, then it's at your own expense, but it's quite rare.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, it talks about what role are you in, what are the benefits of you actually coming into the office, like what is the payoff by coming into the office. And I suppose, unfortunately, I'm looking at it from the sort of role that I'm working in, where I cannot see what the advantages are.
So,
because if you ever need to get IT sorted, I'm just thinking of the tangible stuff.
Like there are some companies that have now created a process where, like, for instance, if I need a new laptop, as an example, I don't even have to go into the office.
It just gets
They courier the device to me, as an example. And the setup of that device, it comes with the basic stuff. And when I fire it up, then they can push all the software that you need based on what your requirements were. You don't even have to go into the office for that.
It's more the hardware troubleshooting.
So
what we're saying, they just send a new laptop every time there's an issue.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, as an example,
no, you could
getting a new
if,
device.
If everything's stored on the cloud, you're just using a laptop for authentication.
Well, look, I mean, the thing is, take for instance, you could, if you've got Dell, let's say you use Dell as an example, okay? They've got next day business support.
Hour.
That's what we get on our laptops. And we've got that for 3 years. Okay, so if I have a problem with my laptop, normally what would happen is I would give it to my IT guy. He would phone Dell. Dell technician would come to the office, fix the thing, and then the IT guy would give it back to me. So why can't the Dell guy just come to me?
He can.
Or why can't I just drop it off at the Dell service center somewhere and they fix it for me? And I could be anywhere in the world because Dell is around the world.
Well, no, not every warranty is international, though.
No, but from a company point of view, that's the way that you could go if that's the situation that you're dealing with. Is that you say, well, okay, our service provider, whatever.
So you can afford to wait for the Dell engineer to come out and fix your device.
Oh, they do it on the spot. They do it on the spot.
It's supposed to be next business day.
Okay, but that's my point. From where you've messed around, you try to self-fix it, diagnose it, you phone your IT team, they give you the number to go and log a call. You're doing all this IT work now that they used to do. Yeah. You've lost half a day, then you have to wait for the next business day so they could pitch up. So effectively, you could have lost 2 days of work.
Well, I'm not going to make I'm not making reference to anything, but let's just say that sometimes it's quicker to fix it yourself.
I get
and
that.
Google's fantastic because
YouTube and Google. Here we go.
YouTube and Google.
My point here is, if you're not IT literate, competent, or whatever we want to call it, you've lost 2 working days. Can you afford to lose 2 working days? If you're in the office, you would take your laptop. If it was me, I wouldn't try and fix it myself, even though I probably could. I haven't got time. I want to go and drop it off. I just want this tool to work when I need it to work. Hire IT people to make sure those tools work. So I will go and drop it off with them.
Yeah.
And work in a remote working, I can drive an hour to go to the nearest IT office, drop it off, pick up a new one.
Yeah.
That's already pre-configured.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. Like,
Uh-huh.
I
It's
mean,
about productivity.
yeah.
And
like-
again, maybe it's different for different roles.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, the thing is, like, how often does one have that kind of IT issues? Like, what? Once a year, a couple of times a year? I mean, what's the.
I've had it once, but once in 10 years, where
Yeah.
basically there was a component on the motherboard that failed, and I had to like actually directly log a call with Dell. They came through to the office, replaced the motherboard, put everything back together. Took like less than 30 minutes. Done.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I've also had that issue, but I mean, the only issue I've had recently is my battery expanding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Expanding, not exploding, right?
No, just
Not yet.
expanding. No. Not yet.
Did you not drive into an office to try and get a new one?
Yeah, I had to take my laptop into the office to get it sorted out.
Okay.
But I mean, I could have done it myself. I said, well, it's fine. Send the battery to me. I'll fix it myself. And they said, no. We'd rather you bring it into the office. Fine, I'll bring it into the office.
You could void the warranty because you're not a certified, trained
No, nor they.
person.
Nor they. Our IT people.
Okay.
They would have to phone Dell to do it anyway. Yeah. But that's what I'm saying, is that I could have taken it to Dell, or Dell could have come to me. Either way. I mean,
Okay, so let's change this topic slightly.
No,
So,
50 minutes into the
Oleg, you work
conversation.
remotely, but you also need to go into the field.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how is your future looking?
My future is looking the same as it is now, in terms of like 95% remote work and then 5% whenever I need to go to the field. I basically go from home.
Okay, so that's how it was before. Except
So-
you went home, you were in the office.
So previously, like what would happen, because we actually have dedicated field vehicles. So for example, sake, if I need to travel internationally, so outside of South Africa, I would have to catch a flight and then, rent a vehicle or use one of the vehicles at our ventures that I'm traveling to, right? But the process is pretty similar. You just book your tickets online, catch an Uber to the airport, from the house. You'd obviously go from the house. Even when I was working in the office, it's like whenever I have a flight, I wouldn't go to the office that day. I would just basically go directly from the home to the airport.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so with the COVID world as it is,
Yeah.
and vaccination rates at different speeds around the world,
Yeah.
you typically go to countries that are probably a bit slower than others
Absolutely.
as far as vaccinations
Absolutely, yeah.
go,
Yeah.
for whatever reason.
Yeah.
How does that work? Does that now mean you have to build into your business trip the fact you're going to have to go into self-quarantine, or you're going to have to factor in you're going to have to do all sorts of COVID testing before and during and after your trip?
So, like,
How do you
for
see
the
that
for the
working?
international flights, it's pretty much the same. So, like, you'll never be flying internationally. They'll require 48 or 72-hour-old negative COVID test. Get on the plane, the same thing. Basically applies when you leave that country, flying in. 48 hours or 72 hours negative COVID test, and you come back. Obviously, if there's an exigent circumstances like you test positive, you have to stay in that country until you test negative.
Like a Djokovic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a different story. That's a completely different story. But Australia doesn't mess around. Like, they don't mess around.
Well, they might have to change because if the rest of the world is opening up and commerce is improving, you're going to start doing, it's different industries, but people will start doing business with countries that it's easiest to do business with.
That's
So
true.
if you're going to be too stringent for too long, it could be a knock-on effect. So that's what I'm waiting to see.
What are
I
we-
can see my trips to Europe speeding up and the frequency of them speeding up
Weren't you used to go travel to Germany quite often?
every week.
Wow. So, are there any trips being planned? And, what impact did, communication and tech had on your travel? Like, could you actually handle a lot of the things that you need to address that side by using, these digital tools?
I'm not sure I'm following what you're saying. I can work anywhere, anytime.
No. But what I mean is like the reason why you had to travel, right? You obviously used to travel for meetings and.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Well, it was normal work. Like you would commute to your office.
Okay.
I would commute to my office. I just had many
In
offices.
Germany.
But could you do like instead of commuting, could you like use the digital tools and have the same impact?
You could
Well, I had
teleport
done,
in
right?
the metaverse.
So I went straight from commuting to. I used to go to London and Frankfurt every week.
Yeah.
And then some other locations in between. I've had to stop that and adjust my way of working, which is what we've been doing for nearly 2 years. So it's not as effective. We've had to find ways of doing the same thing.
Okay.
So I'm not anticipating going back to how it was before, but the collaboration where we do need to sit around a table and talk stuff through, it is much easier in a room. You know, if you want to get on a whiteboard, if you want to have a little chat on the side, you could do that stuff in Teams, but it's not as efficient in my mind. There's little things like if you stop for a coffee break, you're still talking to people, but in a different context.
Yeah.
Or you're bumping into other people randomly that you haven't seen in 2 years, and you have a quick sync conversation so you can find out about other stuff that's going on. Those random bumping into encounters don't happen if you're working from home. It would be odd.
We have a networking specialist, yeah. Andrew.
Yeah.
We have a networking specialist, yeah.
Oh,
You need
yeah.
to, like with technical people love their space and peace and quiet. It's like I was actually chatting to like one of my friends who runs the dev team for one of the banks, and it's like with the developers, right? They're like cagey animals. You use like if they're working on something, do not come close to them. Like just don't come. Maintain safe distance, preferably 20 meters.
Yeah.
Our open plan office, we used to have color-coded lights that used to sync with our Outlook.
Yeah.
So if you're in a call, you're in a meeting, or you're busy, you don't want to be disturbed, you change the color of the lights. So people walking into this open plan area can see who's the person you want to go and see. You don't have to go and walk all the way there to realize he's on the phone or he can't talk to you.
That's pretty cool. It's like airport parking, you know?
Yeah, airport
Yeah.
parking. Or your
Except there's a lot more
status
colours
on
involved.
your status on Teams that people still don't flip and respect anyway.
Or if it shows up.
Well, I
that you're
think
in a
that's
meeting,
more
still...
of a Teams thing on our side, because sometimes it says you're on a call and you're not, or you're in a meeting and you're not. It doesn't sync that well. It frequently has issues.
Oh, well,
So
I'm
people
in
just go, you know what,
I'm in
I
a
don't
call and
trust
someone's
it.
trying to call me.
Just add them into the call, dude. Like just like
Yeah,
have
just,
a group
yeah,
thing.
it's like-
It's like what's
I
up?
like that.
You
Oh,
wanted
yes,
to-
you're trying to get hold of me urgently because you could see I was on a call?
Yeah. It's like and then there's like 20 other people and that they have to explain what's so urgent about it.
Oh, I like this.
It's like you know the equivalent is somebody busts into the meeting with like 20 other people and they're like, drop what you're doing, I need to talk to you now.
Yeah. I've booked this meeting room. Well, you're here now, so join the meeting.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
that's funny. That's funny.
You're not allowed to leave. I'm locking the
funny.
door. It's your punishment. You got to sit through this boring technical meeting that you got no interest in because you decided to gate crash.
It's gonna be really interesting. I think from my perspective, it's like I completely agree with you. I think things have changed, and I don't think we're going back to like the status quo of the 2 years ago in terms of like of conventional office work. But I also feel that like if you want to bring people back to the office, you kind of have to reimagine what the office is and what it represents, because it's like I don't see the point, like honestly, but like I'm in a different space. Do like a niche thing within the business, and it's like maybe if you're part of like a broader team, like a huge team that have a very specific function and that executing that function relies a lot on teamwork. I understand maybe there is a rationale for that. I also understand like for highly specialized stuff, if you need access to like specialized workshop equipment or like laptop of equipment that you can't replicate obviously with your home setup, like it's like you kind of have to go to the office.
Yeah, look, I'm intrigued by all this. I'm waiting to see what happens because if I look at I work for a Japanese company, and they are very strict on you go to work. You work in this environment. This is how it is. We
So
build all these buildings. It's the same in Germany. There was a culture where there's no open plan offices. There's a hierarchy.
yeah,
You
yeah,
have an office
yeah.
dedicated to you. In the UK, it had kind of moved on to a lot more collaborative working spaces.
Mm.
Open plan.
And that was a different environment. And now we're going back to what exactly? Are we going to go straight back to how it was? No, I don't think so. But this is cultures, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true.
In Germany there's work and home.
Mm.
And I go to work, I come home. That's the way it's been. That's the way it always will be. Well, no, hang on. We've changed that. For 2 years, you've been not doing it that way. So what are we going to do?
Was it Germany that was going to implement a tax for you to work from home?
That was interesting. Was it
Really?
Germany?
I think it was Germany that said that they're going to bring in a tax that you'd have to pay if you worked from home.
Can you just Google it? That is so interesting.
Well, I get a tax rebate from working from home.
Yeah, we can as well. But then they the taxman then says, oh, but then if you
Tax.
the area that you use for work purposes, that when you sell your house, then you have to pay capital gains tax on that section of the house. That you,
What?
Yeah.
Oh, this is making it too complex.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you say work from home tax?
Yeah.
Germany.
Well, I'll just see what it comes with. Tax break. And that's SARS claim for. Okay, that's SARS.
Just
Okay,
go to the news section.
Yeah, let me just go to news. Let's say Germany.
Germany. So, Lester, your company is actually a Japanese company.
NTT.
Yeah.
Like properly Japanese company.
Well, it's more international. I've been there a long time, and when I started, it was there's a very definite glass ceiling.
Yeah.
If you weren't Japanese, and that over time has just gone higher and higher. And now I think it's almost gone.
Okay. Okay.
So our head office for my part of this Japanese, it's a large company.
Okay.
So my division under the group, his head office is in London.
Oh, okay, cool.
So this has already started moving the company HQs from the various divisions away from Japan because we're an
Okay.
international service provider.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, I can't find it. But talking about tax, Germany, and how's this one? This is one I saw the other day. There's thousands of Germans are quitting church to avoid paying taxes.
What?
Yeah. So, I mean, here's the lowdown. So, there says a little known fact. Christians and Jews in Germany pay between 8 and 9% of their payroll tax to the church or synagogue every single month. This practice is known as, I can't remember. It's just called church tax in German, or worship tax. Okay, it sees worshippers help fund the religious institutions they were baptized in and registered with as kids.
So you can't change religion?
Well, probably not. Those include Catholic and Protestant churches as well as Jewish synagogues, while Orthodox Christians, Buddhists, Muslims, and other groups are exempt. Just to put this in context, this means that everyone who earns an average monthly Berlin salary of just over 3,500 euros before taxes will end up paying more than 46 euros to church tax. It's calculated based on, so they go on there. So in 2020, the Catholic and Protestant churches in Germany collected 12 billion euros from these slivers of tax. That's because, and before that, geez, man, that's a lot of money, yeah. Okay, so they're saying that
So
this
hang
is...
on,
Yeah?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to see what it said about... Yeah, so this is what's happening is people are quitting church so that they don't have to pay their tax.
Is this something that tithe? I think it was called.
Yeah,
You
tithing.
pay a percentage of your salary into the church, but I thought you just did that yourself
Voluntarily,
locally.
yeah. It looks like in Germany it's a legal.
It comes off your pay slip.
Yeah, like it comes off your payslip.
Crikey.
It's like
Holy shit.
like maintenance, or how do you call it?
That's very discriminatory, though. Sacrilegious.
Yeah, so if you
You're screwed if you're Jewish. What was it?
Jewish, Catholic,
or Protestant.
or Protestant.
Yeah.
But if you anyway.
Obviously, this is not like a typical thing in UK, right?
Clearly
Did I
not.
ever tell you about, we do a census here in the UK every 10 years, right? It's been going on for many years. Same as the census you have in SA, I presume.
Yeah.
But in there it says something about your ethnic origins and where you live, and they used to ask, I don't know if it was on the last one, what your religion was. And it listed off the normal religions, because we've got just about every religion in the world in this country. So eventually it's got all of them, and then it's got an other box at the end, just in case they couldn't fit one in. And it was very much, this goes back about 20 years. If there's enough people saying other and the type of religion, on the next census,
They'll add it.
they have to put it on
really?
as an option.
Wow.
So what happens? Thousands of people go other under religion. Jedi.
That is so cool.
So
It's got to be a recognized religion.
So is that on the was that on the next census?
I don't remember seeing it on the last census. I don't think there was religion on the last census.
Oh, that is so cool.
That's funny. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean,
Well, it's tax-free.
It's tax free. Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
I thought it was gonna be something a little bit more like juicier, but like I think Jedi is cool.
Yeah, Jedi is funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. So I was going to talk about Formula One, but I see we've run out of time. Because I know if we start talking about Formula One, we could be here for another hour.
Or at least two. At least two. Like there's just so much juicy stuff that we haven't unpacked from the last conversation.
Well, I suppose.
Right?
I mean,
Lester's already like. No, guys,
he's crossing his arms. Look at the body language.
the body. Like,
no, I'm just getting comfortable here because I'm thinking Formula E, right?
Do you want to take a coffee break? Get some more coffee.
No, I think what I was going to bring up was Formula E starts this weekend. And Formula E is quite exciting. But it's not mainstream like Formula One is. I know. But they have less of a calendar, but they do travel the world. And the innovations coming from that are driving innovations in the electric car industry. Same way that Formula One over the years have brought many of the things that we have in our cars today. So I'm intrigued by it all. But at what point, if the world is going electric, what point does Formula One finish or merge with Formula E?
Well, here's a point. Did you know that Mercedes is pulling out of Formula E?
You joking?
Yeah, this is their last year,
Wow.
2022.
Is that a statement, or is it like was that
don't know.
always a plan?
No, I don't know. I mean, what do you make of that?
There's going to be some new rival.
Oh, well, why? To your point that, like, things are starting to move towards electric. The fact that Mercedes is going to be pulling out of Formula E, and Mercedes is probably up there.
Yeah, but Mercedes pulled out of Formula One many years ago.
Yeah,
They came back.
Yeah, no. What I'm saying is they're staying in Formula One, but they're pulling out of Formula E. Well, I mean,
It's expensive to do both.
Wouldn't it be the other way around? Well, why don't they pull out of Formula One?
Oh no, because they're top there. Well, yeah.
But I mean, there were rumors.
Okay.
There were rumors
we
that they
save
were
this for the
going
next
to.
episode.
That at one stage there were rumors that 2021 was going to be the end of a full works Mercedes team. They would still supply, say, engines, but they might not have a full team. A full works team. They would only supply customer engines, but I mean that didn't come to fruition. But I just saw that during the week, because the reason why I saw that was because, and this is the question I was going to ask, is Lewis Hamilton going to come back to Formula One this year or not, or is he going to retire? Right. So there's been all of a sudden, quite a lot of talk about Lewis Hamilton retiring. And, in the beginning, I just thought it was, just the news guys just trying to create some spice there. But this conversation's gained momentum to the point that they've already said that these certain drivers have been earmarked to replace Lewis Hamilton if he retires. And I mean, that's like almost like adding fuel to the fire. And that's why they were saying, that I think the guy's name is Eric De Vries, who's currently racing for Mercedes in Formula E. And this is what they were saying. They were saying it would be good for him if Lewis retired and he replaced him, because as of next year, he's not going to have a drive because Mercedes is pulling out of Formula E. Well, that's how I found out about Mercedes pulling out of Formula E. But I mean, to the question, what do you think Lewis is going to do? Is he going to retire or is he going to continue?
He's now been knighted. I think if he stays, he's not retiring. He might leave Formula One like Alonso did and go and try something else.
Well, so what they're saying is that he wants to go to Hollywood. Like he wants to go on and do. Well, I mean, the thing is, remember, he's been into music. So in other words, he's brought out some music.
And does he want to do movies?
It sounds like it, yeah.
Okay. Fast and the Furious.
I mean, he's got his own clothing line. Fast and the Furious.
Which one is he? Is he
Vin
Fast
Diesel
or Furious?
up against
Vin Diesel.
Vin Diesel up against Lewis Hamilton. Oh my God. Can you imagine?
I'm pretty sure that's
there is a lot to talk about on the Formula One front. I mean, they're talking about removing Messi as race director and all sorts going on. So
shame. I feel
Don't
sorry
get me
for the
started.
guy. For the guy, it's like I think everyone's after him now.
No, look, I think the problem is that you can't go after him only because the fact is that at the end of the race, when Mercedes made an appeal, when they lodged the complaint, it went to the stewards, and the stewards dismissed that complaint. So it wasn't only Massey. They had the opportunity to turn over Massey's decision or come up with some resolution. So if you're looking at that last race and the results of it, people need to take accountability. It cannot only be Michael Massey that takes accountability, because there were other people involved.
They're talking about restructuring the whole race official thing now.
But I think it's important that they do. I mean, something happened this year. It didn't work. You come up with something that makes it better. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. It's not that, someone must be on the chopping block because things didn't work out the way they were supposed to. I mean, Formula One is evolving all of the time, and there are decisions made all of the time about aerodynamics for the cars, limitation, whatever it is that the guys come up with. And some of it works and some of it doesn't. So next year or the next time, you try and do it better. That's fine. But you don't fire the aero engineer because he made a decision that actually allowed the cars to be faster. I mean, you don't sack him because of that.
Right. So I think we postpone this till around
the end of the season.
No. No, the first testing, the testing starts in
Barcelona. Yeah.
Yeah, and they do all the team car launches just before that. So we're probably only 2 weeks away from knowing what the new car and the new drivers are going to be.
Okay, so are we going to add this as a standard feature in the Weekend Craic for the rest of the year? Is that we will have a... No, I'm saying we talk... if we were to say, listen, if we were to create a theme for the Weekend Craic, what would we do? What would be the worst thing that happened if we only spoke about Formula One on Weekend Craic? Da-da-da-da.
But then we become then we would be another Formula One podcast.
Well, yeah. And is there something wrong with that?
Is it not already a crowded space?
Maybe not. I mean, just us talking, shooting the breeze on Saturday. I mean, there are plenty of people doing that already. Talking about COVID and returning to work.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah, okay.
No, you know what? I'm playing devil's advocate. I'm just putting it out there. I'm just saying, what would, I suppose, based on the fact that Formula One is now in the front of many, many people's minds, that it wasn't, even if it was negative, people are fully aware of Formula One. I mean, because people that I never thought watched or listened or Formula One, all of a sudden are talking about the last race. And
Drive to Survive.
yeah, and Drive to Survive and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just saying, is it an opportunity for us to jump on the bandwagon? Or even if we just said like half of the episode is Formula One.
Well, if we could do a 15-minute going, right, 15 minutes.
15
bang,
minutes,
What's
yeah.
happened?
15 minutes, we were already.
Yeah, I know, because I
You
say
know,
15. Because after 30, we can officially cut it.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's food for thought. So why don't we try it? We'll just say, as things develop, like testing comes out, or when the cars are launched, let's talk about the launches and the testing, and let's just see how it goes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. By the way, Lester, so I found the article that Andrew was actually talking about. So
That I couldn't find, eh?
that Andrew couldn't find, but
Yes.
I guess my Googling skills are
much
on
better.
the next level, right? So
I think you find that Google is the winner here.
yeah, Google is the winner. So when they most likely were listening to us, and they really came up with the article before I typed something in.
Exactly.
So when the economists at Deutsche Bank Research proposed a special tax on the income of people working from home, they either deliberately provoked or didn't expect the criticisms the idea would. Sorry, my phone went off. Would trigger in Germany. Almost a week has passed since economists at Deutsche Bank Research floated the idea of imposing a 5% tax on the gross earnings of people working from home. The suggestion was made on the assumption that those affected would enjoy a better deal of staying at home while allegedly not giving back enough to the economy.
Well, nothing like a bit of trust and reinforcement. Yeah.
Let's just say it did not go down well. And when these economists approached the government, they said you have 0% chance selling this to the public.
Yeah. Surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise.
All right, should we wrap up, and I'll give you
Absolutely.
on this day.
On this day.
On this day.
On this day, what happened on this day? All right, I'll give you the highlights if I can. Celebrity birthdays. Tom Selleck, his birthday is today,
Oh.
Really?
as is Oprah Winfrey.
Hey.
Tom Selleck is 77 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't look it.
Oprah. It's a bit of grey approaching in his beard. I mean, I think
but I
I'm
mean-
winning on that front.
If you watch Blue Bloods, I mean, he's still...
Is he still rocking it?
Yeah, he's still rocking it. Definitely does his hair.
Definitely does something. I know. Oh, did I say that out loud? Jeez.
Yeah.
Oprah Winfrey, she's 68.
Wow. She also doesn't look it.
On this day, Sweden outlaws aerosol sprays due to the harmful effect on the ozone layer, becoming the first nation to enact such a ban. I remember those days. 1978. Ish.
So is like all the aerosols banned in Sweden?
No, it was at that time the aerosols and a lot of the fridges were the big,
Like
were
contained
considered to be the big, the emissions from them were effectively
eating up
burning
the
a hole
ozone
in
layer.
ozone. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they changed the way they do the aerosols. I don't know the science bit behind it, but everything became ozone friendly.
Mm.
We haven't heard that for a while. Ozone friendly.
Yeah.
It used to be printed on products.
And the ozone, the hole in the ozone layer was a big thing at one stage. It's like, when last did someone talk about that?
Well, actually, it's still a big thing in New Zealand.
Yeah.
They suffer from it quite a bit. But you're right, you just don't hear about it anymore. Today, on this day, in 1987, the Mona Lisa. What? The Mona Lisa painting. The secret behind her smile, or not smile, depending on how you look at the picture, which has been annoying people for 600 years. But apparently they've done research, and on this day they announced that her smile is due to a medical condition, without specifying what the medical condition
is.
But it's more like a. Maybe she was trying to keep a fart in. Who knows?
Yeah.
Need to go. Can you hurry up, please?
Yeah, I need to go to the yeah. Maybe she had the squirt. So.
Oh dear. And on this day, the Cape Colony was founded in 1652.
Wow.
No, it wasn't, because that was in April. So
we'll
I'll
keep
check
that for
those
later.
facts.
Surprise.
Yeah. That's all I have.
So you want to know what international or national day it is today?
Well, it's there's a couple. National Puzzle Day, where you're supposed to get busy with a friend and do some mind tease puzzle.
Okay.
But there was something else I came across. Where was it? The Library Shelfie Day. The what?
What is that?
Yeah. Unique opportunity for book lovers on Library Shelfie Day. Some collectors of books tend to arrange a collection. So basically, you rearrange your books. Color coded or
in alphabetical order, or the Dewey system. Yeah, Dewey system.
Yo, that's hectic.
Yeah.
So they're encouraging people to rearrange, take photos, and put it on.
Yeah, I'll take a photo of them in my bin. You know, in my wheelie bin. You know, going out for recycling. Right?
Yeah.
National Ebook Day. You know, arrange your ebooks.
Rename the folder.
Yeah, rename the folder. Recategorize them into different folders. Yeah.
So I think I'll skip that one.
I see it's also Free Thinkers Day today.
Is it?
Are we free thinkers?
Definitely.
Or are we?
The fact that we're doing a podcast where we can just talk, have
absolute
opinions,
rubbish.
I would suggest no.
Oh, we've been influenced by our media. Yeah. National Seed Swap Day.
Yeah.
What seeds are we going to be swapping? I've got some
seeds of knowledge.
Seeds of knowledge. Seeds of knowledge. We can put that together with Free Thinkers Day. Hey?
Yeah.
And we can consume some corn chips while we're doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's this? How do you pronounce this? Curmudgeon's Day. Curmudgeon. What's that? I have no idea.
And on this day today, our British Prime Minister is popping over to Ukraine, from what I hear.
You serious?
Yeah, that's a big part of our news is what's happening in Ukraine,
but
on
what
the Ukraine
happens,
border.
Hypothetically, right? What happens
I knew this would get you going.
Right. No. I'm just thinking out of the box, right? What happens if Russia invades as Boris Johnson is there and they take him hostage? Would you want him back?
I think my signal's going.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah. I think MI6 is...
But hypothetically, right? What if he goes there, it gets invaded, and he can't fly out?
Oh, mate. I mean,
Like
I don't
then
even
it's
know who
game
could
over, man.
succeed.
Like,
He's practically out of the office anyway.
but would you guys
because of all the scandals of having parties when we're all in lockdown and
would you
lying
guys
about.
launch a rescue operation? Like get James Bond to rescue
Well,
the
he's
prime minister?
officially head of he's prime minister, so he would get the full support of the military and everything else that would happen.
So you guys
Yeah,
wouldn't just leave him
absolutely.
there, even if you really, really want to.
No, it's about his position. It's about his rank.
Okay,
It's not about
so
him.
so
You
despite you
salute
could
the
have,
rank, not the person.
so despite you could have had the golden opportunities to solve your problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, Boris who? Yeah.
I mean, with a name like that, you probably fit in around there.
For sure, for sure. I mean,
Yeah, look, it's quite bad.
In terms of
a
what?
lot going on. A lot of NATO having a lot of involvement here, a lot of meetings, a lot of calls between the politicians from the US, various European countries, with Russia and Ukraine governments. There's a lot of activity on the front at the moment.
no, I think it's
The
just
US has
hype.
put about 15,000 troops on standby to ship to the area for training purposes.
I think it's just hype,
It's-
honestly speaking. Like because like based on
I don't
what
know. I think there's been this kind of stuff for many years. We've had jets scramble to go and shove away Russian spy planes in our airspace. This stuff's been going on for years. And there's been build-ups on the borders before, which has always just dissolved and dissipated. It's not going away. You think about there's 100,000 odd Russian troops on the border.
yeah.
The logistics around keeping 100,000 people fed, looked after,
Mm.
you know, there's a whole big setup behind that to make that work. They've been there for ages. You got to feed 100,000 people. You got to keep them warm. You got to.
But dude, like I have to say, it's like Russia holds these military exercises like in that specific part of the country every single year, and it's
Absolutely.
and it's exactly the same, like basically like military group that's involved in it. What makes this a special thing?
Let's see what happens next.
I think it's just hype, honestly speaking, and I think
Well, let's hope so, because this is going to get messy.
no, I think it's just hype, honestly, and I think the hype is actually doing more damage than anything else because, like, Ukraine economy since the hype started just collapsed. It just collapsed. It's like inflation is basically going up every single week. The Reserve Bank governor, like in Ukraine, had to raise the interest rate like crazy, which has obviously made the situation worse because the population is already bankrupt. You know, so it's like energy prices are going up. Like, think about it this way: like, Ukrainian economy now is like a third of what it was 8 years ago. A third, 30%.
Interesting times.
Nah, I don't think anything's gonna happen. I think it's like it's just a sideshow. I think the important thing is actually like I think Europe is gonna have a major problem. And the major problem is that if Europe goes into some sort of military confrontation or even just, you know, a new version of the Cold War with Russia, and obviously hopefully it won't develop into actual shooting war, but either way, that means that China is going to be the next world superpower over the next 5 years.
Yep.
It's almost inevitable. So like, and this situation works so well with China because both the United States and the West is going to be focused in Russia while they can do their own thing.
You live in interesting times.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Okay.
Are we
I'm spent.
upspent?
Oh, look, guys, it was awesome
As always.
as always.
Yeah. So next week.
Always awesome.
So next week
Hey,
we'll
hey.
same place, same time.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately,
See you,
the same
senor.
people. Yeah.
No, don't say that.
No, it's fine.
I can't wait to see what your backdrop is next week.
Maybe I'll turn my car around.
Yeah,
Face
have
that way.
indicators going.
That way.
Woo, yeah.
Yeah. Time to get that green screen working again, dude.
I think like as an exercise, you just need to swap your car and bikes around for next
Yes.
week's podcast.
Yeah.
Do it
Okay.
inside the car.
Do it inside.
That would be weird.
Just have the windscreen wipers go over every now and then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, we'll catch you next
This
week.
week's episode brought to
Okay.
you by Ford Mus.
Must. I wouldn't say it's Ford Mazda. I'd say it's like a smaller cousin of Ford Mustang, like a slightly smaller cousin.
But like a Ting rather than Tang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Ford
Okay.
Ting, innit, bruv?
Okay.
Oh dear.
Cheers.
All right, laters, guys.